You want to draw. You have so many ideas, but then you grab a piece of paper and suddenly your hand freezes and your mind goes blank. What's really holding you back isn't a lack of talent, it's a fear of making mistakes or the pressure to meet your own expectations. And here's the good news, you can break that cycle. Let me show you 4 easy techniques that will get you unstuck and back into your creative flow, so drawing feels fun and natural again, just like when you were a kid, scribbling away without worrying about the outcome. Now let's start with technique number 1, drawing with your non-dominant hand. If you're right-handed like me, switch to your left hand. If you're left-handed, switch to the right. For this exercise, all you need is a pen, a piece of paper, and the hand you don't usually draw with. I've chosen a small bunny figure as my reference, but you can sketch anything around you. So what happens when you do this? Your lines become shaky, unsteady, and that's exactly the point. Your brain stops trying to draw correctly. Instead of following a pre-planned image in your mind, you are suddenly in the moment, observing, creating without expectations. And that's what gets you into the creative flow. Why is the first stroke so hard? The problem isn't that you can't draw, it's what happens in your head before you even start. Somewhere along the way, you've all been taught to avoid mistakes, whether it's our brain trying to protect us or society telling us that imperfection equals failure. But it's not just about making mistakes. We are constantly told what's right and what's wrong, what's good, what's not good, which technique to use, even what kind of creativity is worthwhile. And most of the time we accept these rules without questioning whether they actually work for us. And here's the thing, perfectionism isn't something we are born with, it's something we observe over time. A lot of people stop drawing because they've been told their work isn't good enough, as if making mistakes means failing instead of improving. But the truth is, mistakes are how we grow, and the real joy of creativity comes from the freedom to explore, play, and create. Our brain craves control. It wants everything to look just right. And that's the problem. You are already thinking about the results before you even made the first mark. Now imagine picking up a pen and just draw a line without overthinking it. Sounds simple, right? But this is where doubts creep in. What if it doesn't look good? What if I mess up? What if people don't like it? These thoughts turn a blank page into a huge mental roadblock. But here's the thing, this block doesn't mean you are not creative. It just means you are expecting too much before you've even started. And that's exactly what we are going to change now. Maybe you've already noticed how drawing with your non-dominant hand feels completely different, unfamiliar, a little messy, but also surprisingly freeing. And that's the key. Creative blocks are personal. For some, a single exercise is enough to break through, while for others, something deeper is at play. Old habits, perfectionism, or the pressure to make everything look right. If you feel stuck or want to loosen up your drawing process even more, come join my Patreon community. That's where we tackle these challenges together with hands-on exercises, personal insights, and direct feedback. You'll find the link in the description. Now let's move to the technique number 2. Holding your pen differently. Take a moment to notice how you're holding your pen. Chances are you're gripping it near the tip for maximum control. But what if that control is actually holding you back? Try shifting your grip higher up or experimenting with different ways of holding it. Suddenly your lines become looser. Without even realizing it, you are stepping outside your usual drawing habits. And that's the key, letting go of control so you can draw more freely. Now let's move on to technique number 3. Start with shadows instead of outlines. Most people assume drawing begins with outlines, but that's not true. Light and shadow define forms far more than lines ever do. In nature, there are no real outlines, just smooth transitions where objects meet, light fades or contrast creates separation. By starting with shading, you begin to see shapes as they truly are, not as fixed lines, but as gradually shifts between light and dark. This approach helps you recognizing forms more naturally without getting caught up in making perfect outlines. And now let's move to technique number 4. Draw on a non-empty page. Why this actually helps. Sometimes the biggest block is the blank page itself. That untouched perfect space can feel overwhelming, like every mark has to be right from the start. The solution? Start with something that already has marks on it. A current calendar, a newspaper, or even a to-do list. When the page isn't empty, the pressure disappears. You are not ruining anything, you're simply adding to what's already there. And that small shift makes it so much easier to begin. These 4 techniques will help you break free from the fear of the blank page, because the problem was never that you couldn't draw. It was that you expected too much before you even started. The more you practice these methods, the easier it becomes to just begin. And at some point you'll realize it doesn't matter how you start, what matters is that you do. Anyone can draw. In the next video I explain you how this works if you understand this one thing. If you tried these techniques, let me know it in the comments. I'd love to hear how they work for you. Or do you want more of this? Just tell me. And if you have any questions, drop them below. And don't forget to like and subscribe, and see you in the next video.